Well, hello everybody. This short video is a recap of what we were doing last week in class for those of you who weren't there, and obviously for those of you who were, a little recap for you guys. So what we did was we started working with a viewfinder, a little mat board that I gave out to everybody to use, and we used that to zoom in on a section of the drawing and that we're wanting to make, to look at the subject matter by putting the viewfinder really close up against the edges of it so that we could concentrate on the shapes that were not on the inside of the object or the outline of the object, but the shapes that were outside of it. And using that outside group of shapes, we were able to get a great deal more accurate drawing of what was left on the inside, and then we could divide that shape up into smaller and smaller bits before we ever got around to adding shading or textures or anything else like that. So that's what we were up to. Let me stop my part of the drawing and move on to what you guys did. So what we started with was drawing small objects and also some chairs at the beginning. And with the use of a viewfinder, we were trying to isolate what we were going to be looking at. So after isolating the object, we also wanted to place the viewfinder in such a way as to have the object itself, the thing that we're drawing, go outside of the format a little bit at several places. This gives us a chance to pay attention to the shapes outside of the object, to not draw the object, but to draw the spaces outside of it. Drawing the spaces outside of the object gives us it gets us around the idea of the preconceived notion that we know what we're drawing, and rather just concentrating on pure shape. That can be a really powerful tool for getting us around our preconceptions and ideas about how do I draw a smile, a house, a car, whatever we're drawing, and lets us concentrate on a shape that we have no name for, no preconceived understanding of, and we pay attention to the angles and lengths of simple shapes. Once we've gotten them started, we can then move on to drawing the details inside the object. We can begin to add contour line, shading, overdrawing, if you will. So working extra details on top of our underdrawing is a very powerful way for us to really gain some wonderful control over what we're getting. You can see in these drawings, folks have started to move on from the underdrawing and adding more shading and detail. But I want to take us back to that initial idea of working from the negative shape and creating a silhouette. You can see here the process that this person has done to begin creating just the shapes outside of the figure and drawing those shapes up against the format and creating a silhouette, and finally then beginning to cut out the holes of the interior bits, if you will, of where the arms move around and the legs move around a little bit, and creating a more complex mapping, if you will. As you see on the far left-hand side picture, they've divided those parts up. Here we have another one, this father and child image, that really does show us going from a silhouette to internal structures and where all those little bits and pieces can stop and start. So from the silhouette, they've begun to use a little bit of dividing and alignments to see where things might need to be placed inside. Again, we have that same process here with this drawing, where it goes from just simple shapes and silhouettes to much more complex ones until you finally get to some extremely complex structures that are a good way for us to get started with our drawing. And from there, after you've gotten all this sort of technical drawing underneath your belt, we get to move to a new place. We begin to add stronger line, stronger, richer contour, if you will. We begin to get much more detail. We might decide as we work forward to get rid of the underdrawing completely, but probably not everywhere. But we are certainly going to be emphasizing stronger lines, stronger mark making, getting a lot more detail, a lot more powerful drawing. We can even begin to add shading to create rich values if we want. So I hope this helps you see where we went last week and where we're going to be going this week. If you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to get in touch. See you soon.